Welcome to the Lord's Minute, our quick hit video series where we team up with the Iron Lords podcast hosts to discuss the latest topics in gaming and beyond. My name is Joshua Redding, and I'm the editor in chief of Lords in Gaming, and I'm here with Lord Addict. And today we're going to discuss the rumors about Dead Space coming back as a result of development by EA Motive. So, Addict, were you a Dead Space fan? Are you excited about the franchise coming
Oh
back?
yeah,
Did you feel it had run its course?
I
Or
was actually one of the few that enjoyed Dead Space 3, and I didn't enjoy it in terms of like I knew that they downplayed a lot of stuff, but like in terms of the horror factor. But I always felt like Dead Space was a great franchise that because of one installment in the franchise, I didn't feel like it justified canning the whole series, if that makes sense to you, just from one game.
Yeah, I mean, Dead Space 1, I loved it. I thought the atmosphere, it just absolutely nailed it. It made me excited for anything that Visceral Games was going to put forward. And I like Dead Space 2 as well. I never actually played Dead Space 3. I saw that it was co op, it was on like an ice planet. And I just kind of said, this isn't what I want out of this franchise. So actually, I skipped Dead Space 3. So maybe I'm one of those people that's responsible for that franchise going away. But
Well, I think we can give all that blame to EA, but
Dead Space to me was kind of it showcased EA at one of its more experimental times, kind of the last time that they really seemed to be putting tons of money and backing into new franchises. You had Mirror's Edge at the same time. You had Army of Two, which I liked Army of Two, but I don't think a lot of people did. And you had Dead Space, and so I'm excited to see it come back. What does EA Motive need to do to make it successful? They're just coming off of Star Wars Squadrons, so does it need to star, Isaac Clarke, or does it need to take us back to the Ishimura, or should it be a totally fresh start away from all of the baggage of the continuity?
part of me feels like a, just a trilogy is probably what they're doing. I hope not, because to me, there's a lot of standards in gaming today that those games aren't going to really appeal. So I feel like a reboot of the original would be the best way to go. But the thing is just like EA. I think since Vince got in there, I think he's changed a little bit of the concept of how EA looks at stuff. Like, because I think he came in there as like, look, you can still do your games as a service, and you can still capitalize on that. He's like, but you don't have to not do any type of other games. And I think that you're seeing that with the revival of Mirror's Edge, and I think her down the road that it's like there's a lot of truth to this rumor that's going on.
So you would rather see kind of a remake remaster of the first game as opposed to something completely new?
Because to me, I don't want, unless it's the same people, the same team, which that's impossible,
Right.
or at least if they got the director from the original one, then I don't want them to go that direction where they're going to make a sequel or something, or make something new, and then the game just bombs. It's just like to me, let's breathe life into the game right now. Let's not take too many risks. Let's focus on the graphics. Let's build it in a new engine. It could be a 1-for-1 for all I care. Make sure it still has that horror aspect for games like Resident Evil 8 coming back. Outlast is still out there popular. Like, if you bring Dead Space back in a good way, I feel like then you could do what you want. But right now, let's breathe energy into the franchise. Let's reinvest it, and one of the only ways you're going to do that is get the fans of the original Dead Space. And I feel like someone trying something new, there's a really good chance they can mess that up. And to me, the life of the Dead Space franchise, having more than one game coming back, is more important to me than them trying new stuff. Like,
I
after
mean,
you get
go ahead.
after you breathe life into it, after you get here's Dead Space, then you could do what you want, because you're rebooting the franchise. Like, they don't have to do like a 1-for-1 story, obviously, but I do want them to stay around, Isaac looking for his girlfriend, because I feel like that is the best case scenario, because that is considered one of the best Dead Spaces. And I don't want them to branch off too much, and then they upset the older fans because it wasn't what they expected, and they don't get a whole lot of casual people because we got to consider this isn't a genre that people play in general. Like this is a niche genre, the horror aspect, the whole horror thing, and it doesn't have the name Resident Evil either.
I was about to say
So
Resident Evil.
it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be hard to grow in this kind of area unless you have those hardcore fans. Now, as long as they kept the horror thing to the center, I think the hardcore fans will be happy. But you guys, you know, Josh, you know how people are. Like they change anything. Oh, the suit looks different. Like, and to me, that's my fear is them trying to
the suit. The suit I think is the only thing that they should keep. I'm on the other end of this. I think they should throw everything else out and just keep the suit. Keep it in space. Keep it with the horror aspect. Treat it like it's an anthology series. And let's, go and do something unique horror-wise in space and call it Dead Space. Like, keep the name, keep the suits, those 3 blue lines.
So you think we should get rid of Isaac in general too?
Isaac had 3 games. Like, how many games does one guy need? Master Chief got to 5.
I don't know, Josh.
He's lame now.
See, this is the kind of thought process that's going to give it 1 game and it's going to be a 1 and done. All right. Like, because just think about it. Like, if no one really gravitated towards this game and no one tries it, to me, it's not Dead Space without Isaac. It's just not. Like, to me,
hasn't the poor guy suffered enough?
No, he hasn't. First off, I hope that they rebring the first one back, and he hasn't suffered any at this point. All right, and even if it's a sequel, he could suffer a little bit more for my amusement. That's fine. Like,
hey, until he gets his hands chopped off repeatedly, we have not got to the Resident Evil 8 levels of suffering. So
we've seen on Resident Evil 8 where Homeboy has had fingers chopped off, his arms chopped. I mean,
just glues it right back on.
You can come back from that. You don't need to just stick at that.
Do you want it to keep the co-op aspect of it? Of Dead Space 3.
If it's done right, yes. If it's not done right, no. Like, okay. How Dead Space 3 was supposed to play out, but EA kind of intervened, as it was supposed to be a kind of, how like Ninja Theory makes a lot of psychological games. Well, this one was supposed to be a psychological game, and it was supposed to be the second player ends up being a figment of Isaac's imagination.
Okay, that's
but then what ended up, and it was supposed to be like, because in Dead Space 3, there are good aspects of Dead Space 3. They just didn't do it enough. Like, there's areas in Dead Space 3 where Isaac sees something different than the second player does. So, like, and then you'll go around a hallway, and the second player's like, "What's wrong, Isaac?" And then he starts seeing stuff. And I felt like they needed to do that, and that should have been the core of the game.
Well, let's get Kojima to direct the new Dead Space game.
No, let's not. No.
You can mess with your save file. To me, Dead Space is the ship. It's not Isaac. It's the ship, and it's exploring the ship, going into zero gravity, like trying to fix and figure out what happened to the crew. Like, to me, like, that is what Dead Space is. And like, I love the Ishimura, and the moment in the second game when you go back to the Ishimura. And like, that hit me in a major way. Dead Space 3, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it took place on a planet, on like an ice planet, correct?
Yeah, it did. You know who I always thought would make a good Dead Space? That if the people who directed Dead Space teamed up with?
No.
Ninja Theory. Because like,
okay,
I always felt like what Dead Space tries to do, and it's not that they fell at it, but they don't do it very well, is that mental battle between Isaac and whatever environment he's doing. Ninja Theory has that unlocked. They have that unlocked so much I can't play Hellblade because it messes with me too much. Like,
yeah, give me the Hellblade audio in Dead Space, and I will never sleep again. Just those constant whisperings, like, all around you. It's good.
It's pretty, like, especially like when something drastic happens on Dead Space, and you hear whoever's like narrating you through that section of the ship, and she or he's in the mic like screaming, and like it's like one of those things where it's like, Isaac, you have to go right now, and I'm like, oh my, okay, don't be bossy, I'm going. Like,
there's no reason for me to stick around here. I'm out.
Yeah, I think it's just the overall story aspect of Dead Space was always what made Dead Space Dead Space. And
Yeah.
I had to think it was Isaac too, because, you know, spoiler alert, because clearly this game's like 15 years old, but the original Dead Space, you know, it didn't end the way a lot of people thought it was going to end. Like, whole game, you're looking for your girlfriend, then obviously you find her, and that happens. And then the second game, he from the experiences in the first one, he goes crazy.
Right.
And you start, you know, he starts seeing stuff like that's what I felt like at what made Dead Space Dead Space. It was the psychological, and it's like I said, it's why I wanted Ninja Theory to help, because I always felt like they did that better. But if Dead Space comes back, I would be thrilled. I would. And it's like I said, you know, I heard through the grapevine that, you know, there's a lot of truth behind this Dead Space rumor, but I don't necessarily know what type of way that they would bring the franchise back. If they did, obviously, you know, it could still be fake, you know.
Sure. They're all rumors at this point, but EA Motive has a decent track record so far. Star Wars Squadrons was really well received, and our guy Gene at the site loves it in VR, and so maybe we'll see some VR.
Oh, I couldn't
from
imagine Dead Space in VR. Oh, no.
Just to really give you nice. All right. Well, Lord Attic, thank you so much for joining me today. And you can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at lordsofgaming.net. I'm Joshua Redding, and this has been the Lord's Minute.